The words hit me before I could breathe. "I, Damien Cole, Alpha of the Blackridge Pack." His voice filled the courtyard. Every wolf in the pack stood watching, 100 pairs of eyes, and I stood at the center of it all, still in yesterday's dress, mud on my heels, heart open like a wound. "Hereby reject you, Sera Quinn, as my fated mate." Silence, the kind that swallows you whole. I felt it before I understood it. A crack, deep and physical, like something inside me had been held up by a single thread and he'd just taken a blade to it. My knees almost went. I didn't let them. I looked at him, really looked. Damien. 6'2" of controlled power, dark hair, darker eyes, the jaw of someone who had never once questioned himself. He wasn't looking at me. That was the worst part. He was staring at a point just past my shoulder, like I was furniture, like I was weather, like I was nothing. "The rejection is complete," Elder Marsh announced. Applause. A few cheers from the girls who'd always wanted my place. I turned and walked. I didn't run. I would not run. But something about the way his eyes finally moved, the way they snapped to me the second I turned my back. I should have kept walking. I should have left the pack that night just like I planned. I didn't. Because by midnight his beta was at my door, and the message he delivered made no sense at all. "The Alpha requests your presence in his room. Now." Chapter 1. The Rejection. It happened on a Monday. Mondays were always cruel. I'd been his mate for 11 days. 11 days of almost, of nearly, of I think he feels it too. The mate bond doesn't lie, but apparently alphas do. I'd spent those 11 days watching him from across rooms, feeling the pull in my chest every time he entered one, the warmth when he was near, the cold when he wasn't. He felt it. I know he felt it. I saw it once, one unguarded second, where his eyes found mine across the dining hall and something in them went soft. Then he looked away. And the next morning, he called the gathering. Everyone came. 300 wolves on their best behavior, the elders in their carved chairs, the betas lined up behind their alpha like dark shadows. I stood in the crowd. I didn't know what it was for. Then my name was called, Sera Quinn. I stepped forward, and Damien looked at me for the first time since we'd met, with the full weight of his position behind his eyes. Not warmth, something else, something that looked like a decision already made. "I call this gathering to formally reject." I stopped hearing the words. Not because they weren't loud, because my body understood them before my mind did. The bond cracked, not broke, not yet, cracked, like ice under pressure, and I stood there in front of everyone I'd grown up beside and I smiled. I don't know why. Pride, maybe. Or the need to make sure no one saw me bleed. The walk back to my cabin took 4 minutes. I counted every step. Inside, I pulled my bag from under the bed, started filling it, clothes, letters from my mother, the small wolf figurine my father carved me before he died. I would leave by morning. I would find a new pack, a new life. The bond would hurt for weeks, maybe months. But I would survive this. I always had. Then the knock came. Micah, Damien's head beta, stood in my doorway, broad as a doorframe, looking deeply uncomfortable. "He wants to see you." I didn't move. "Tell him no." Micah blinked, like I'd said something in another language. "Sera, it's not a—" "Tell him no," I said again, quieter. A long pause. "He said to tell you." Micah glanced down at his boots. "He said to tell you that if you don't come willingly, he'll come here himself." Something skittered up my spine. Not fear, something worse. Fine. I followed Micah into the dark. Chapter 2. His room. The Alpha's house stood at the center of the pack's territory. 3 stories, old stone, every window lit. I'd never been inside. Micah led me up the stairs to the 2nd floor, stopped at a door at the end of the hall, and knocked twice. "Sent in," Damien said. Micah left without looking at me. I opened the door. He was standing at the window. Back to me. still in the clothes he'd worn at the gathering, the black shirt, the dark pants, the Alpha's mark visible on the back of his neck in the low light. I waited. He didn't turn. "Close the door," he said. I considered leaving. I closed the door. The room smelled like him. Pine and something darker, rain on stone. It was overwhelming in the way that mate bonds always made scent unbearable. You weren't supposed to be this close after a rejection. It was supposed to dull. It wasn't dulling. "Why did you call me here?" I said. "I need you to stay." The words landed like a stone. I stopped, breathed. "You rejected me 6 hours ago in front of the entire pack." "I know what I did." "Then you understand why I'm leaving." He turned. And I wished he hadn't, because his face was all wrong. The cool authority that he'd worn at the gathering, gone. His jaw was tight. His eyes were dark. And there was something moving behind them that I couldn't name. Something that looked dangerously close to pain. "You can't leave," he said. "You don't have the right to—" "There's a threat." He cut me off. His voice dropped. "Against you specifically, Sera." He said my name like it cost him something. "If you walk out of this territory tonight, you won't make it to the border." The silence stretched between us like a rope. "What kind of threat?" I finally said. "The kind I can't explain fully, not yet." He held my gaze. "I need you in this house, under my protection, until it's handled." "And the rejection?" He looked away. That was the wrong answer. "I'm not a prize you can put on a shelf and take down when it's convenient," I said. "You rejected me, publicly. I have my dignity, even if you don't respect it." "Sera, tell me what's happening, all of it, or I walk." His hands curled at his sides, and then he said something I didn't expect. "The rejection was to protect you." Chapter 3. The Lie That Wasn't. I sat down. Not because I wanted to, because my legs simply stopped cooperating. "Say that again," I said. He moved from the window, sat across from me in the chair near the fire, leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped, like a man confessing. "There is a faction," he said slowly, "within the council, 3 elders and 2 alphas from neighboring packs. They've been watching for signs of my bonding." "Why?" "Because my mate carries leverage." His jaw tightened. "My mate can be used, threatened, taken." "Used for what?" "To control me." He said it flatly. "To make me compliant. If someone has the person your wolf has chosen—" He stopped, looked at his hands. "There's nothing you won't do to protect them." The fire crackled. "So you rejected me," I said slowly, "to make them think I wasn't your mate anymore." "To make everyone think it." "Did it work?" "I don't know yet." I sat with that for a long moment. Part of me wanted to believe him. The part that had felt his eyes on me for 11 days. The part that had felt the bond pull between us like gravity. The other part of me, the part that had stood in that courtyard and smiled through cracking ribs, that part wasn't ready to be soft. "Why didn't you warn me?" I said. He was quiet. "Damien, why didn't you warn me first?" "Because you would have argued." "You're right. I would have." I stood. "I also would have consented. I would have had a choice." Something flickered in his eyes. Guilt. Genuine and raw and quickly buried. "You can have the room next to mine," he started. "No." I crossed to his window, looked out at the dark forest below. "If your story is true, then I'm safest here, in your room, because that's where any real threat would least expect me to be." A long silence. "The room is yours," I added. "I'll take the chair." "Sera!" "And tomorrow," I said without turning, "you start telling me everything. No half-truths, no protecting me from information like I'm made of paper." Another pause. "Agreed." I heard something shift in his voice. Not just agreement, something deeper. I didn't look at him. I wasn't ready for what his face might show. Chapter 4, Midnight. I didn't sleep. The chair was fine. That wasn't the problem. The problem was the bond. Rejection weakens it. Yes, but proximity warms it back. And I was 10 feet from my fated mate in the dark, and my whole body was aware of every breath he took. At some point around 2 in the morning, I heard him shift. Sheets. A low exhale. "You're awake," he said. Not a question. "So are you," I replied. Quiet, and then, "I'm sorry." 2 words. Simple. Devastating. "For the rejection?" I asked. "For doing it the way I did." A pause. "I thought cold would be safer, that if I made you hate me, you'd leave faster and they'd believe it quicker." "Did it occur to you that you succeeded?" I said. "For a few hours I hated you. And now?" I stared at the ceiling. "Now I don't know what I feel." Which was the truest thing I'd said all night. Another silence. Longer this time. "Sera." "What?" "If the bond were broken, if none of this were true." His voice was low, almost uncertain. "Would you still have come?" Something tightened in my chest. "Come where?" "Here, to this pack, to me." I thought about that for too long. I thought about the 11 days, the glances, the one moment in the dining hall where his eyes went soft. I thought about the courtyard, the smile I'd pasted on my face like armor. "I don't know," I said finally. "I hadn't decided who you were yet." He was quiet for a very long time. "That's fair," he said at last. And somehow that answer, the lack of argument, the lack of pride, told me more about Damian Cole than anything had in 11 days. I fell asleep to the sound of him breathing. When I woke, the chair had been draped with a blanket. His blanket. He was asleep in the chair across the room, which meant sometime in the night he'd given me the bed.
Chapter 5. Morning. I woke before he did. Unusual, I suspected, for an alpha. I watched him for a moment, just a moment, because there was something I needed to see. Something I hadn't been able to see in the courtyard, or at the window, or by firelight. Damian Cole asleep looked like a person, not an alpha, not a position, not a decision that had cracked my ribs. Just a man, jaw relaxed, a crease on his cheek from the chair cushion, one hand loose across his chest. His wolf mark pulsed faintly on his neck. Mine had been aching since the rejection. A dull throb, like a bruise. Like the bond was trying to hold itself together by its own insistence. I pressed 2 fingers to it. It quieted. Barely. He opened his eyes, found me watching. I didn't look away. Neither did he. "Morning?" he said, voice low and rough with sleep. "We need to talk," I said. "The real version." He sat up, rubbed his jaw, nodded once. "We do." "Then I want coffee first." Something crossed his face. It looked almost like a smile. Chapter 6. The Truth. Damian made coffee himself. His beta had offered. He sent Micah out. We sat at the kitchen table, mugs between us like a small treaty. He started talking. The Blood Pact Council. 3 elder wolves who had survived longer than memory by tying their power to the alphas around them. Not through strength, through strategy, through leverage. "They've been trying to find a way to control me for 2 years, he said. "I took this territory from a corrupt alpha when I was 23. I refused to pay tribute. I broke 3 of their existing agreements." He turned his mug in his hands. "They don't like that." "And they thought they could control you through your mate?" "They did it to the Alpha of Greyvale." His voice went flat. His mate was taken. He gave up half his territory to get her back. A pause. "She was never the same after." The coffee went cold in my hand. "How long have you known I was your mate?" I asked carefully. He looked at me. "From the moment you walked into this territory." A beat. 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks. He'd known for 3 weeks. That's why you kept your distance, I said. I was trying to find a solution, something that didn't involve publicly humiliating me. His jaw tightened. Yes. You didn't find one. No. I looked out the window. The morning light was doing something beautiful to the tree line. Soft and gold, and indifferent to the two people sitting in a kitchen trying to figure out what they were to each other. What's the plan now? I said. You stay. Quietly. In a way, the council won't track. And the rejection stays in place? His hand moved across the table, stopped just short of mine. Until it's safe, he said quietly. Then I would like to… He stopped himself. I would like the chance to do this right. To court me properly. Yes. I looked at his hand, inches from mine. The bond hummed, low and persistent and patient. As if it had all the time in the world and knew something I didn't. I moved my hand. Just enough. Until the tips of my fingers touched his. He went very still. No promises, I said. His voice was barely above a whisper. I know. And no more decisions made for me. Agreed. And if I decide this isn't worth it, then I'll help you leave safely myself. I studied him. He meant it. Okay, I said. A single word. Small. Enormous. His thumb moved, once. Gentle. Across my knuckles. And the bond, for the first time in 20 hours, stopped hurting. 3 weeks later, the council sent a message. 2 words. We know. Damien read it first, then handed it to me. I handed it back. Now what? I asked. He looked at the note, then at me. Now, he said. We stop hiding. Something moved through the bond, warm and certain. I nodded. He burned the message in the fireplace. Then he reached out a hand. I took it. We walked into the courtyard together. Same courtyard, same pack, same afternoon light. Different. Everything. He didn't call a gathering this time. He just held my hand in front of everyone. That was enough. The whispers started immediately. I let them. Damien glanced at me sideways. You're smiling, he said. I know. What's funny? Nothing, I said. Then why? Because, I told him simply, I decided. He understood. His grip tightened. We walked. Sometimes the most dangerous thing isn't the rejection. It's the moment you choose, with your whole chest open, to stay anyway. And that's where we leave them. Hand in hand. Pack watching. Bond still cracked in places, but healing. So tell me, what part got you the most? The rejection scene, the midnight confession, or that final moment she chose? Drop it below. And if you want to hear what happens when the council actually comes for her, let me know. Because that story is just getting started.